This is the Tree of Life, Season 9, Chapter 9. In this episode, we will be reconceptualizing how we define path parsimony. To start out, to understand the influence of path parsimony and its relativistic nature, we first have to conceptualize all social intersections in a certain way. As a starting point, we must assume that as between two socially interacting actors, all paths are possible. To return to the example in Season 9, Chapter 7, we must assume that person A is seated at a table. Person B enters the room and in one path places a post-it note in front of person A, whilst in the other sits down opposite him without doing so. Both paths are possible, so we will call the post-it note path, path 1, the convoluted path. We will call the non-post-it note path, path 2. Now, we can say that parsimony has selected path 2 for person A, and path 1 for person B. We also know that the conjoined consensuality has chosen path 1 as objective. Now, we know that there is a nonlinear displacement event for person A, associated with the convoluted path. And it is this displacement event which leads to path 2 being found parsimonious for person A. We can thus say that path 2 is a transformation of path 1 for person A. But we can also say that path 2 is not transformed for person B by parsimony. We know this because person B experiences no nonlinear displacement events from the origination point to the final point. From all of this, we can see that the nonlinear displacement events for person A are a manifestation of the interaction between structure alpha and structure beta, where structure alpha is the structure corresponding to person A, and B, and structure beta is some other structure involving persons B and C. To put it in plainer terms, person C is the source of the nonlinear displacement events for person A, due to being in a pre-existing hybrid structure with person B. In other words, you start with the most convoluted path for person B, being the path which involves the greatest degree of intersection with person A. Then, you eliminate any intersection points displaced by pre-existing structural arrangements, i.e. with C. This gives you some path, being path parsimony for person A. Once this is complete, you do the same thing for person B, although in this case, there are no pre-existing structures causing displacement which need to adjust path parsimony. This tells us a few things. It tells us that the conjoined consensuality prefers parsimonious paths, which are free of displacement. But individually, parsimony selects a path, which is subject to all pre-existing structural adjustments. That's the end of the podcast for today.